Just hours away from free agency officially opening up. 5 p.m. on Thursday evening is the official time that players can start to sign their free agency. Cincinnati Reds made a couple big decisions on Wednesday. We'll get into that, along with some other breaking news and rumors about those Reds. Welcome in, everybody. Chatterbox Reds, Craig Sandlin, joined as always by Nick Kirby. Nick, how's the start of your week going?
Going well. This is third or fourth video of the week. I don't know how many we're rolling through, but news starting to come in hot and heavy. At least interesting stuff happening. So we'll see how it shakes out.
No rest for the weary. And of course, that news does keep happening. And as always, Chatterbox Reds has you covered. We'll start today's podcast with the news that the Reds and their decisions around the players that they had club options on. Nick, what did they decide on Austin Hayes, Scott Barlow, and Brent Suter?
Well, they declined all of them. Not too terribly surprising. Austin Hayes, $12 million option with a $1 million buyout. Scott Barlow, $6.5 million with a $1 million buyout. Brent Suter, $3 million with a $250,000 buyout. So the Reds save $17.25 million. They will pay $2.5 million in buyouts. I don't think any of these are necessarily surprising. Suter, I just didn't think it made sense at all. Barlow, maybe you could squint and say, but I think we said you'd have to kind of get a gauge of the reliever market. And then Austin Hayes, he just wasn't healthy enough to justify that, in my opinion. So pretty cut and dry moves. Brad Meter did say that the club remained open to bring each back on a new deal, and I don't have a problem with that. I'll run through them real quick here. Austin Hayes would have to be less than $12 million. It could be multiple years, even in my opinion, but he's got to be open to a platoon role, in my opinion, because he just hasn't hit right-handed pitching well enough throughout his career. Scott Barlow, loved everything about Scott Barlow. Thought he was an awesome signing. Thought he was a great dude. Took the ball whenever. Yeah, I'd love him back on a shorter deal. Brent Suter, I don't know. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I feel like he'll be back. He's either going to be back or he's going to retire. I think the hometown kid probably wants to wrap up his career here based on some of the things he said over the course of the last year, and then just the seemingly joy that he had here in Cincinnati. But I know that's also just who he is. So we'll be interested to see. I mean, hard to imagine that he's not going to bring a big market, right? So can you bring him back on a minor league deal and just figure it out, when spring training rolls around next year, and put him on the big league club at a minimum deal, or what? I don't know. I don't hate having him around as a culture guy, but yeah,
I think you'd have
a lot to do it.
I think less than money. I don't think it makes sense to put him on a major league deal where he is occupying one of the 40-man roster spots throughout spring training. If it's one of those handshake agreements, like, hey, if we'll try to put you on the roster, but we need you to not be on the 40-man, I can live with that. Kind of feels like a lot of people said that Keegan Thompson felt like a Nick Martinez replacement. Mm-hmm. I kind of think it might be more of a Brent Suter replacement.
Yeah, it's possible too. I'm admittedly don't know enough about that signing yet to have a firm decision on what role he's going to fill.
We do have a video up about that.
And trust me, I watched it, but I like to do my own research, Nick. As much as I appreciate you and Mike,
fake news, Nick Kirby,
talking about it, and again, read this morning on Off the Bench. I appreciate all of that, but no, I haven't done enough of a deep dive there to figure that out. And interesting, you mentioned Brad Meter said that the club's open to bringing back any and all three of them. You have it a little bit further down the list, but kind of ties into one other topic that we're going to get into in just a minute. But first, want to take a quick pause and acknowledge our sponsors that make Chatterbox Reds possible.
Deep South Commodities is a proud supporter of Chatterbox Reds and our Deep Drive of the Day, and DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production, specializing in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks as always to our friends at DSC. And we also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health. Whether it's an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between, it's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay.
All right, Nick, we'll get into that news in just a minute, but a couple other tidbits we want to talk about before we get to that. First, Reds and FanDuel Sports Network officially made an announcement today. They'll be back on the network for 2026. I think that's probably best for fans at this point, is for them to continue that relationship. Your thoughts?
Well, it's good that it's not dragged out into February.
Yeah.
I don't remember when it got announced last year, but man, it was dragged out a long time, and there was twists and turns, and we thought, hey, they were going to MLB, and then they ended up going to FanDuel. So at least there's clarity. People know exactly where they can watch Reds games before the calendar even hits 2026. I don't know if FanDuel's a perfect option. I don't think it's a long-term option. I think this is a short-term solution. I think they're going to have to probably at some point end up going through MLB like a lot of other teams have done, like the other team in Ohio is. But for now, this probably, I'm assuming this is what gives them the most money. And I'm glad it's just not dragged out any further into the offseason, and people know what to expect.
I will go ahead and bookmark it now that come March, I'll be signing back up for that FanDuel Sports Network monthly subscription, and I'll be watching my Reds on the FanDuel Sports Network app and on my smart TV for the 2026 season. So, look, that was all fine and dandy, but really interesting tidbit / piece of information that we found later on in the day on Wednesday that we can't possibly not talk about, Nick. And I know I see your grin. I see your little smirk. All right. I know this is something that you loved to see, but go ahead and tell the people what we're talking about.
Well, a betting site called Bet Online, no free ads, but we have to mention because they're the ones who posted it. The Cincinnati Reds, your Cincinnati Reds, have the best odds of landing Kyle Schwarber. The Reds are plus 250. The Mets plus 300, the Cubs plus 400, the Yankees plus 500. Craig, the best odds in the business. Impossible. No chance it could happen.
Correct. Those are the best odds if he leaves Philadelphia. That's the piece that we're not really talking about. Philly's not even on the list that you posted on the Chatterbox social media pages, Nick. You know why? Because they're the favorite for Kyle Schwarber to be on the team in 2026. But you know what? That doesn't play into your narrative, does it, Nicholas? Does it? No. Listen, I love it. I'm glad that is there and that we can get some excitement. He's not coming to Cincy, Nick. It's not happening. The projections still have him somewhere in the range of 4 years and $120 to $140 million. Everywhere you look has that same kind of projection. And yes, the Reds are listed by every prognosticator as a good fit for Kyle Schwarber. But guess what, Nick? They're a good fit in terms of what the Reds should do, not what the Reds will do. And that's the big difference here is, yes, I would love Kyle Schwarber to be the Reds cleanup hitter in 2026. Imagine him hitting behind Elly De La Cruz and what Ellie's going to be able to do in 2026 when he's actually protected by a real power hitter that can put the ball in play consistently and hit 50 bombs. 100%, that'd be amazing. Not happening. Not happening.
Well, first and foremost, I would not bat Schwarber that low in the lineup. I want him to have more trips to the plate like he did in Philadelphia.
Bet Ellie lead off, put Schwarber second, whatever. I get it.
Yeah, I don't care. Put Schwarber first. That's what the Phillies did. Seemed to work out pretty well for him. And then you have TJ Friedl hitting ninth, being your second leadoff hitter. I already see it. I mean, Craig, the implied odds. I did the math. 29%. I mean, that's not nothing. 29% of it happening.
Great. How about the other 71, Nick?
I heard 0. 29's better than 0.
All right. Well, talk to me.
In all seriousness,
Talk to me in March.
I still think it's possible. I'll give you the path. All right. I guess we're going to skip ahead because Nick Kroll said the Reds payroll will stay about the same in 2026. So essentially, we think the Reds have about $30 million right now. That's about what Schwarber probably costs $30 to $40 million a year for the next 4 to 5 years. So that's the money there. I think the Reds, there's a chance they trade Hunter Green. If not, they trade a starting pitcher. That's going to free up some additional money. I think if you're signing Kyle Schwarber, you're certainly not bringing back Gavin Lux, right? So there's another $5 million right there. And there's your money. There's your money, Craig.
Yeah, where's my bullpen coming from?
Who cares? You have Kyle Schwarber. You just sign a whole bunch of minor league relievers. And I mean, would you rather? I'd rather just pump it all into Schwarber and roll with the scrap heap bullpen arms.
The Cincinnati teams love pumping money into offense and not worrying at all about the other side of the ball. We love to do that.
Well, I mean,
that sounds great.
Okay, you're acting like the pitching was terrible last year. There's still quite a lot of good pitching in Cincinnati. Yes, I do think the bullpen.
And you're going to get 6 innings out of them on most nights, and then you're going to have 3 innings of an absolute roller coaster night in and night out because you don't have a single bullpen arm that you can trust outside of Tony Santillan.
Would you would rather have a bunch of Scott Barlows and no bats? I mean, I would take my chances.
Well, I'm not saying no bat, but to dedicate your entire payroll, to Kyle Schwarber, when we've been over this multiple times on this show already, Nick, that the Reds need to add 3 to 5 bullpen arms for 2026. I don't know.
I'd rather roll with it. I mean, again,
I'm sure you would.
If we're talking
Great American Ballpark, baby, you're playing 81 games there.
At least you have someone that can hit it out there on your side. I just I'd rather have the one guy I know is an elite at something thing, and take the Reds are going to have to be shortchanged somewhere. It's just the way that it works and the way that they're spending. I'd rather take the chances in the bullpen. The Reds have made a lot of good minor league low-level signings in their bullpen. I mean, heck, look at last year. The one guy they actually paid was atrocious. Rogers. The guys they did it, the Scott Barlows at $2.5 million, they were good. The Reds have picked up guys off on minor league deals that have been good. And the Reds do have a lot of talented arms like Luis May and Zach Maxwell that could be good. I'd rather roll with my chances of that and have the one big bat. I'd put all my eggs in Kyle Schwarber if that's all I can do.
Yeah, I mean, how many free agents that are going to be on the market this year are coming off of 50 home run seasons or even have a 50 home run season to their name, period?
Eugenio Suarez.
Okay, well. All right,
but
great.
Schwarber's the only one that can realistically repeat that.
Yes.
I don't think Suarez can realistically. Could he? Yes, but it's not realistic. Schwarber, it's almost expected.
You're talking about the likely runner-up in the NL MVP award race this year. He's going to be. I get that the lack of positional flexibility hurts his value some, but he's going to have. I'm going to say 10 to 15 teams vying for him. I don't think it's going to be all 29, but he's going to have a significant number of teams vying for him. And I know he's from the Cincinnati area, but man, as much as I'd love to make it happen, I don't know. It's tough.
He's 32. He's going to be 33. So that's going to teams aren't signing. Even the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, they're not going to sign Kyle Schwarber into his 40s. They're just not going to sign a DH. It's not going to happen. I mean, everyone is predicting 5 years max for him. So the thing that kind of fits what the Reds could potentially do. And the thing that the Reds have going for them is you think that the Reds can win a tiebreaker. If the Reds and the Mets offer the same deal, I believe there's a real chance that Kyle Schwarber takes the Reds deal. And that's not the case for most free agents. The Reds can offer the exact same amount of money for Cody Bellinger, and Cody Bellinger would say, Reds, you have to pay me $30 million more because I'm going to go to the bigger market that I can, make more money on endorsements and all that. Schwarber, you actually have a chance at the tiebreaker, and maybe you can even get lucky and he would take a little bit less. He's not going to take some massive hometown discount. I don't believe that. Like, I think some people do, but you could realistically maybe get him a little bit less, but you at least have a chance at the tiebreaker, which the Reds do not have, and people do not mention this enough when they talk about free agents. The Reds have to pay more than big markets a lot of times. I don't think that's the case here.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope they're smart enough to realize that.
I think one of the concerns, which has been one of your concerns this entire offseason too, is that you've got the potential for an impending lockout and the uncertainties around that. And I'm not saying that there's a perfect science in there, but some people are saying that he's going to get a 5-year, $145 million deal. And to expect the Reds to dedicate those years and those dollars just doesn't feel likely to me. That's all. I would love it. I absolutely will be jumping on a live stream with you the minute it happens, if it does. And I'll be rocking my Reds World Series hat again. But no, I'm much lower than 29% on this happening. So I'd be closer to 2.9. Maybe even below that. So
that's still up. You're
still
going
up.
You're going
so
up.
You're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I guess there's always a chance. You mentioned it real quick. I want to make sure that we actually give the time that it's due. On Wednesday, Nick Kroll reportedly shared that the Reds payroll is expected to be about the same in 2026 as it was in 2025. I know there were a lot of people that were kind of holding out hope that, hey, maybe this playoff run and the additional ticket sales that the team saw towards the end of the year would drive a little bit more on that. But I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think realistically the Reds were going to do a single thing different in 2026, knowing that 2027 is unsure. I don't think they were going to put themselves in a position of uncertainty like that. So I think realistically the payroll will be about the same in 2026. We'll figure out what happens with the CBA, and then there's always a potential that it could go up in 2027 or beyond.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a hope it would be a little bit more, but I didn't think it was going to be some big drastic change. I think I saw someone say the Reds made about $5 million more in ticket sales. Okay, that's not that doesn't move the needle that much, and it does seem like some other teams are small market teams. We'll talk about the Brewers here in a second. Are also potentially looking at trying to keep their payroll low to maybe keep some money, because I think there's going to be a lockout. I think it's going to be a significant lockout. And it also seems like it coincided with the Reds figuring out what their budget was when the FanDuel thing got announced, when they got clarity on that. I think that was probably the last piece there. So I guess maybe the best hope is that maybe the Reds just said it'll be about the same, and maybe there's a little bit of flexibility that it's maybe $10 million more, and they said, hey, we'll say it's about the same and be surprised if it's more. Then to say it's say it's probably going to go up and then it doesn't go up and then pitchforks come out.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of people who had a lot of hope that things were going to be different based on the playoff run and the viewership on TV and all those things. And this ownership group hasn't really given a lot of faith that things are going to change. So we'll see how things go, and maybe we'll have a salary cap the next time we talk about the Reds payroll. Who knows? You mentioned the Brewers, Nick. Reds announced their spring training schedule on Wednesday. I hear the Brewers are going to be part of that.
Yeah, so I'll give you the notable stuff here. You can go online and see the full games released, but the first Spring training game, February 21st against the Cleveland Guardians. Thank God they're not doing a split squad on the first day. That was the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen, doing a split squad game, both games at the same time. Like that was so dumb. Like, put them all in one. Let's get it on TV. Let's enjoy it. March 4th. How about this, Craig? An exhibition game against the Cuba National Team at Goodyear Ballpark. That'd be a fun game to get down to if you're going to spring training. I would think that'd be a fun game and something just unique and interesting about spring training. Get to see the Cuban national team. I don't know. Do you know any of who would be the best player on Cuba?
Lou Bob.
Okay. Could be a
how does that work out when Lou Bob is a?
Well, I would assume that if you're playing for the Cuba national team, that you would play for them. The Reds will have players playing for other teams for the World Baseball Classic. That'll be another interesting thing about spring training. Is I remember the first year at Chatterbox Reds, when I covered the spring training every day, there was a lot of players out. Ian Jabot was one of them, playing for Great Britain, and so that'll be something we'll keep track of as well. But a fascinating game. I'm
also on that team. Yohan Moncada, Yoenis Cespedes is on that team.
Still on the team. All right.
How about that? Yeah. So, and then of course Louis Robert or Louis Robert, depending on who you talk to.
But yeah, that'll be fun. I hope they actually put that on TV. I'm sure that'll be a radio only, just because so dumb how so many major league games aren't broadcast, and I can get every college baseball game. But nonetheless, we move on. March 19th, one of my favorite days in spring training, the Spring Breakout Game. Reds playing the Giants in Scottsdale, Arizona. That's a beautiful ballpark. One of the few that I got to go see. Had the best atmosphere of any of the games I went to in spring training in 2024. So that'd be a great game to go to if you're going out to Arizona. Really fun atmosphere, and there was not a huge crowd for any of the Spring Breakout games I got to, so I would highly recommend that. And then last but not least, the Reds are going to end spring training in Milwaukee against the Brewers. Little interdivision 2 exhibition games. That'll be Monday and Tuesday before opening day on Thursday, March 23rd through 24th. So that'll be kind of interesting. The Reds have not done anything like that, I think, in a long time. I didn't look back, but it's been a while since the Reds play like legitimate exhibition games. A lot of teams do this. I know the Angels and Dodgers do it almost every year, I think. They do like that Monday, Tuesday, they play against each other. I know there's some other teams that have done that. The Reds did the game in Dayton last year, but that was just a one-off game, and that was not a game that they put a lot of eggs in their basket for them being real games at all. So certainly a little bit of a different thing, and hopefully, again, those games are actually on TV and we can watch them. We get excited a few days before opening day.
Yeah, I would assume that Tuesday, the 24th, will be a day game exhibition, and then
probably
they'll head to Cincinnati Tuesday night, have Wednesday off, and then of course first pitch on the 2026 MLB season with the Boston Red Sox in Cincinnati on Thursday the 26th. So
the Dayton game was at night, but that was in Dayton, so it's a little bit
much different. Yeah. So that's cool. That'll be fun, and the Brewers may have a different look, I guess. It'll be the same old Brewers, but you mentioned small market teams. It's worth a quick note as we look around the NL Central overview as we do some of these shows. The Brewers had a couple decisions, and both on the player side and the club side on Wednesday.
Yeah, the Brandon Woodruff, this was earlier in the week, declined his option with the Brewers. He's now a free agent. They also declined options on William Contreras, Rhys Hoskins, and Jose Quintana. Now, William Contreras, the catcher, still will be back with the Brewers. He has a weird contract, still has 1 year left. So he's going to go to arbitration now instead of the $12 million club option that he had. I guess last year he signed a 2-year deal that covered 2025 and 2026, but there was a buyout. So basically the Brewers are betting that he's going to cost less than $11.9 million in 2026, as they have to pay him a $100,000 buyout. So an interesting deal, but he's back nonetheless. And like I mentioned, I don't think the Brewers are going to be spending much this offseason either. I think they're probably going to be in the same boat as the Reds. The Cubs have already kind of made some semi-excuses about spending, saying they're not going to spend on high-level relievers. They're expected to lose Kyle Tucker. The Cardinals, I think, it'll be interesting to see what Chaim Bloom does in his first year as first offseason as GM. I think he's probably going to sell some pieces and look to take a step back. So, again, I say all this to say I still think it's a division that the Reds have a real shot in. Never going to count out the Brewers. We'll never do that again. I don't care if they're projected to win 55 games at some point. I mean, that team just knows how to do it. Cubs are still going to be a juggernaut, but I don't know if they're necessarily, they're not, I don't think at the level of any of the certainly not the Dodgers or any of the other top contenders. But look, it'll still be a division that is somewhat favorable for the Reds, although the NL Central overall did perform really, really well last year.
Yeah, the William Contreras decision was interesting to me. He was one of those guys that I thought was like a surefire pick up the option on. I know arbitration makes things a little weird because, the cap that they can make is sometimes different than what their actual like open market value might be. But like Spotrac has William Contreras's open market value at nearly $16 million a year. Which, may or may not be accurate, but certainly more than 12 million. And I don't know, it might just be one of those things that William Contreras and the Brewers going into last year had an agreement that, hey, we can do that, but we'll do what's right for you. And if you're worth more, then we're not going to pick up that option, with the understanding that, hey, we can still renegotiate your contract and maybe sign you to an extension next year or do something longer term, versus just picking up a $12 million option when you're worth more.
The interesting thing is, so MLB Trade Rumors is projecting 11.1 million. So, I mean, this is maybe a move to save in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's interesting. I don't know I don't know exactly how players view this kind of stuff, if they just realize it's just a straight business, or if a guy like William Contreras kind of goes like, come on, this was like a couple $100,000. If that ends up being what it is, and you kind of pissed off your catcher over a couple $100,000, I don't know. I don't want to go too far and say like, oh, this is something that's gonna, really hurt the Brewers and Contreras. But I also don't think it's necessarily a complete nothing burger either.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what the outcome of that is, because I would imagine that the Brewers are going to come to the table with some sort of valuation in the like $10.5 million range, and then Contreras might come to the table with a $15 million range. And the arbiters
if it goes to arbitration.
Also true.
Yeah.
Also very true.
Yeah.
So yeah, speaking of which, Nick, we got some upcoming dates of note that we want to make sure people are aware of. It obviously starts today with free agency.
Yeah, free agency officially begins. So yeah, free agents, we'll see. Sometimes it comes quick and there's a lot of free agents signed right off the rip. Sometimes it's very slow moving. So we'll kind of see, and we'll certainly be available for that. GM meetings, that's next week, November 10th through the 13th. Not usually a lot happens there, but usually the framework is what they say is decided there. And then the Rule 5 protection, November 18th. So probably next week, early the week after, we'll start digging into that a little bit more. And then the non-tender deadline right after that on November 21st. So yeah, it's going to be a busy month of November with a lot and some rumors and exciting stuff if you're a sicko like us and you listening.
Yeah, starting to see some rumors floating around of players that have already come to an agreement with the team. I think I saw Leody Taveras is going to sign with the Orioles. So you'll start to see some of those rumors leak out even before the official start of free agency and the time when players can actually sign, because those agreements are oftentimes done well before the actual date that they can sign. So we'll keep an eye on that. And if the Reds make any moves, as always, we'll be right here on Chatterbox Sports YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you leave us a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Follow us on social. Leave us a 5-star review if you're listening to this on a podcast. And make sure you check out all of our great content. Chatterbox Bengals, of course, brings you all the latest Bengals news. We had a great trade deadline show on Tuesday, joined by Casey McAllister and Stone Shields. Appreciate them joining. Make sure you leave us a review and comments there. The Flying Lion podcast, Saturday, game 3 of FC Cincinnati and the Columbus Crew in the first round of the MLS playoffs. Make sure you check them out. And as always, Off the Bench, Monday through Friday, 10A to 11A, and then the Stone Shield Show, 11A to 12P.
And a brand new Chatterbox Bearcats dropped on Thursday morning.
There you go. Chatterbox Bearcats. They are in crossover season, as it is called. Basketball and football underway. So those guys will be super busy bringing you a lot of great content about the Bearcats and what is lining up to be a pretty exciting couple months, both from the football side and basketball side. So definitely appreciate the work that all these guys are doing to put together great content for all of our Cincinnati sports fans. And yeah, we appreciate you listening and supporting the channel as well. So until next time, I am Craig Sandlin. This has been Chatterbox Reds. We'll see you next time, everybody.